Reports are coming out and they show how bad EVs are. Turns out these things are unreliable, and worst of all, they're a lost cause. They just keep producing them, and people are not buying. They're prioritizing quantity over quality, and who is going to end up hurting? You! People have noticed this, and GM is facing such a big backlash. To be honest, this might be the last chance for them. They might get shut down after this. You might not know, but EVs cause 80% more problems than traditional internal combustion engine vehicles, so they have to change their ways if they want to survive. But this rabbit hole goes deeper than just that, and it's something that will affect all of us. Let's talk about the details. What does this mean to you? First off, it's a reality check. If you've been enchanted by the allure of zero emissions and cutting-edge technology, it's time to consider what you might be getting into. While the idea of gliding around town in a sleek, eco-friendly machine is undeniably appealing, the truth is that these vehicles come with a lot of reliability issues that could turn your ride into a roller coaster of stress instead of smooth cruising. And let's be honest, nobody wants to be stuck on the side of the road because of battery problems or buggy tech. These problems aren't just minor inconveniences, they could lead to hefty repair bills and endless frustration. Think about it, as enticing as the new tech sounds, it also means that when something goes sideways, you might be left in the lurch, scrambling to find a qualified mechanic who knows their way around your snazzy new ride. Plus, with so many features packed into these cars, a single glitch could cascade into a series of headaches. Trust me, you don't want to be that guy. And the reality is that these issues are just the tip of the iceberg. Let me explain. There is always a problem. So you've just scored your dream EV, all shiny and eco-friendly. But these fancy batteries that power your ride, they're not always the superheroes they're cracked up to be. Remember how frustrating it is when your phone battery starts dying when you need it most? Well, this one dies on you in rush hour traffic. Now, I'm not saying that we should just drive our cars without charging them, although that sounds great. But think about it, the average range of an EV is 291 miles. But many EVs boast impressive ranges on paper, and in real life have a way of throwing curveballs. Ever tried driving in the dead of winter? Your EV's range might shrink faster than you can get a charging spot. And don't even get me started on heavy use. Your mileage may vary significantly. But let's talk about the elephant in the room: money. You know how replacing your phone can make your wallet cry? Well, replacing an EV battery might just make it sob uncontrollably. We're talking potentially half the car's price. It's like buying a small house, but for your car. But wait, there's more to these power-packed batteries than just range anxiety and cost concerns. Have you ever heard of spontaneous EV fires? Yeah, that's a thing. Take GM's Bolt EVs for example. They had to recall a bunch because the high-voltage batteries were playing with fire, literally. It's enough to make you think twice about where you park your EV. Your garage might suddenly feel less like a safe space. And if you don't charge at your garage, finding a suitable public charging spot is hard. Worst of all, when you do strike gold and find an available charger, get ready to channel your inner Zen master. You might be waiting a long time. Sure, fast chargers exist, but even they'll keep you twiddling your thumbs for a good 30 minutes. Compare that to a pit stop at a gas station. So what's the takeaway from all this electric madness? Well, EVs are cool, no doubt about it. They're sleek, they're quiet, and they make you feel like you're driving in the future. But until we've got charging stations as common as gas stations and batteries that can outlast your bladder on a long trip, range anxiety is here to stay. In the meantime, maybe keep a bicycle in your trunk just in case? So what are the consequences? Well, a legend's downfall. You see, EVs have a very long way to go, so when companies like GM just drive right in without bringing some kind of solution into their game plan, they'll see losses after losses, and that is what happened with GM. Let me explain. The first victims. They've been pouring cash into electric vehicles like there's no tomorrow, but the returns, not so hot. It's like they're hosting a party but nobody's showing up, and their EV dreams are turning into a bit of a nightmare. Remember the Chevy Bolt, GM's golden child of the EV world? Well, it turned out to be more of a problem child. Lurking behind that shiny facade were some serious reliability concerns that had potential buyers raising their eyebrows. The situation hit a fever pitch when reports started rolling in about battery issues. Yep, we're talking about high-voltage batteries that were, let's say, a little too enthusiastic. Some began spontaneously combusting while parked or charging, prompting a slew of recalls that sent shockwaves through GM and left Bolt owners feeling like they were living on a time bomb. Now, we're not just talking about a couple of recalls, we're looking at a full-blown evacuation. GM had to issue recalls for all Bolt EVs manufactured between 2017 and 2020. Imagine taking your shiny new EV home, only to find out it might just turn into a bonfire in your garage. Yikes! It's a PR nightmare for GM, whose promise of an electric revolution was dimmed by these fiery mishaps. And all this came at a time when GM was investing heavily in EV technology and looking to carve out a significant slice of the market. Instead of gliding confidently into the future, they found themselves dealing with a PR disaster that made headlines for all the wrong reasons. The Bolt, once viewed as the face of GM's electric push, suddenly became a cautionary tale in EV reliability. But here's where it gets fascinating. Despite the growing pains and an awkward sprint to regain consumer trust, GM isn't throwing in the towel. They've been doubling down, betting big on the Ultium battery platform as a way to recharge their ambitions. However, the scars of the Bolt saga remain fresh in the mind of consumers, and GM has a long road ahead to win back hearts and, more importantly, safety and reliability credibility. In the end, what happened to the Chevy Bolt is a classic tale of promise met with peril. It started as a beacon of hope for GM's electric future, but a string of unfortunate battery woes turned it into a cautionary story about the real-world challenges of new technology. As they pivot to learn from these missteps, one thing's for sure: the road to recovery will be anything but simple. So will GM rise from the ashes, or will the Bolt go down in history as just another flameout? Only time will tell. But one thing is for sure: they're tearing full speed towards an all-electric future, while potentially leaving their present-day challenges trailing behind like yesterday's news. With plans to roll out a whopping 30 new electric models by 2025, you'd think they'd be cruising ahead with confidence. But if we take a closer look, it starts to feel more like constructing a majestic skyscraper on shaky foundation. Now, let's be real, GM's challenges with electric vehicles extend far beyond the occasional fiery mishap or steep price tags. We're talking about a monumental shift in the automotive landscape, and GM's feeling the pressure to keep pace with this rapid transformation. They're making a big bet on their Ultium battery platform, while they're banking on as a golden ticket for success. But if the setbacks keep piling up, that once coveted ticket could quickly start to resemble fool's gold instead. If they fix the inherent issues of EVs, then yeah, they can find success. But until then, the competition is turning up the heat. Low sales are sparking a full-blown war in the electric vehicle industry, and it's getting wild out there. Huge legacy automakers like GM, who spent years pouring cash into their electric dreams, suddenly see those dreams going up in smoke as their sales hit the brakes. That's right, it's not just a little bump in the road, we're talking a full-on traffic jam. So what's the drama? Well, Tesla decided to throw a surprise discount party, slashing prices like they're on a mission to win every EV buyer's heart. And who can blame them? Everyone loves a good deal, right? But as the prices tumble, every other automaker suddenly feels the heat. That is when Ford jumps in, looking to stay relevant and making cuts of its own. Meanwhile, GM is in a tight spot. Their sales are plummeting, and they're caught in the crossfire of this intense price war. Do they follow suit and slash their prices? Sure, it might attract buyers, but at what cost? Margins get slimmer and profitability might just slip through their fingers. It's like trying to eat spaghetti with a spoon. Good luck with that. Now each automaker is sweating bullets, trying to find that magic formula. How do they provide an enticing price without sacrificing quality? Consumers want not only affordability but reliability too, and that's where the EV industry faces a fascinating paradox. In aiming for the sweet spot of budget-friendly and cutting-edge, car companies are back to the drawing board, scrambling to regain their foothold. But what's lurking beneath the surface of these bargain deals? Traps. Now, this is a bit controversial, so I'll lay out the facts for you and you'll make your judgment. You see, the push for lower prices can trap GM and companies in a tight spot, caught between two tough realities: cutting costs while trying to keep quality intact. It's like trying to juggle eggs. One slip and everything might come crashing down. When the pressure mounts to offer budget-friendly models, there's a real danger that manufacturers might start rushing production, opting for cheaper materials, or letting quality control slip through the cracks. Recipe for disaster. We already know that EVs face their own set of challenges, like battery problems and those annoying tech glitches. The spotlight on affordability can amplify these existing issues. Take into account the potential consequences of using lower quality batteries. A quick fix can easily lead to a diminished lifespan for your shiny new ride. Worse yet, there might be safety concerns lurking in the shadows. And let's not underestimate customer awareness. People are much savvier than you think. They're on the lookout for dependable vehicles, not just flashy gadgets that fizzle out at the first charging station. When it comes to pricing strategies, there's a fine line to walk. Sure, attractive prices can bring in bargain hunters, but they might also scare off loyal customers who value reliability over a good deal. Trust is fragile, and when you gamble it away with rock-bottom prices, you could end up in hot water. The surge of competition isn't just about price, it's about innovation, reliability, and trust. That's why some companies are fast-tracking new models, while others are scrambling to patch up quality issues. It feels like a high-stakes poker game. Either you play your cards right, or you're going home empty-handed. Now, GM says they have a plan, but will they win with their plan? You tell me, I'll just give you the details. List of failures. You ever feel like you're about to lose your cool in a game of poker? Well, that's GM right now, caught in a high-stakes price war where every move counts. You'd think they'd have their poker face on, but the reality is a bit more chaotic, and here's why. You see, GM has an ambitious plan to churn out 400,000 EVs by mid-2024. That sounds impressive, right? But here's the catch. They're burning through cash fast. With the Chevy Bolt facing embarrassing recalls due to battery fires, GM's been more like a firefighter trying to douse flames than a company cruising toward an electric future. Scrap that idyllic vision. It's more like navigating a maze blindfolded. And while they're pumping resources into their Ultium battery platform, an innovation that promises to streamline production and boost efficiency, they're also gambling big on the belief that consumers will choose quality over price. But what else can they do? Think about it. If you're standing at a dealership scouting for the best price, and you spot a Tesla model swinging its price down like it's on clearance while GM keeps theirs high, what are you going to do? The allure of affordability and modern technology is hard to resist. Even though Barra is strutting around saying they're not getting dragged into a price war, this approach could backfire spectacularly. The landscape is shifting beneath them. If they don't adapt and offer something irresistible at a price that reflects market reality, they might find themselves left in the dust like an old-school VHS tape while the world has moved on to streaming services. They need to fix the way they are seen on the market, or else they would be history. And to do so, they need to fix one problem: value over tech overload. This is a very simple concept, but it seems to always be done the wrong way over and over again. Manufacturers just pack in every ride with lots of tech that we've never heard of before, which is not ideal. Let's say you're cruising down the street in your shiny new electric car, feeling like a total boss. Your dashboard looks like it belongs in the Starship Enterprise, and you've got more gadgets than Inspector Gadget himself. That sounds awesome, right? Well, not really. Let's start with those fancy touchscreen dashboards. They're sleek and packed with more features than your smartphone on steroids, but sometimes all that high-tech wizardry starts acting up. One minute you're jamming out to your favorite tunes, adjusting your seat to that perfect sweet spot, and the next, your car's having an existential crisis and refuses to budge. And don't even get me started on those advanced driver assistance systems. They're like that overachieving kid in class who's trying to solve world hunger but can't tie their own shoelaces. These systems promise to make driving a breeze, but sometimes they're about as reliable as letting fate take control. One tiny glitch in these systems and suddenly your car's throwing a tantrum that would put a toddler to shame. They need to focus on what they can do better and improve that. But what's happening now in the industry? Car manufacturers are in a tech arms race, each trying to outdo the other with the coolest, most mind-blowing features. It's like they're all competing in the Gadget Olympics, and we're the guinea pigs. The result? Sometimes we end up with half-baked features that are not useful in any way. Sure, your EV might brag about its cutting-edge capabilities, but don't be surprised if you find yourself at the mechanics more often than your local coffee shop. But it goes deeper than that. The potentials. When car companies start rolling out vehicles loaded with proprietary technology, they're basically locking you into their ecosystem. They attract you with all these shiny features and that elusive promise of an upgraded driving experience. But if your car runs into trouble, you quickly realize that DIY fixes are out of the question. You need to go back to the dealership, where prices are inflated and parts often feel like you're asking for something luxurious. You might think that fixing your own car should be a breeze, especially with all the online tutorials available. But if the software is tightly controlled by the manufacturers, even your best intentions to fix a minor issue could be thwarted. That's where they set up the game. You see, your car doesn't just need parts, it requires specific software, access to reset sensors, or calibrate systems after a repair. And who holds the key to that kingdom? You guessed it, the manufacturers. They've turned car repairs into a high-stakes game where they hold all the cards. And guess what? This monopoly doesn't just stop at pricey repairs. When your car's software is tied to its warranty or performance, it sends you running back to the manufacturer when something goes awry. Independent mechanics might have the skills, but without access to that critical software intelligence, they're left in the dark. It's like having a treasure map, but being denied entry to the treasure chest. So what happens next? Well, manufacturers create this ecosystem of exclusive repairs and software access. They effectively drown out the competition. Independent garages? Good luck. They're struggling to offer you affordable service because they can't tap into the data or tools needed to handle repairs efficiently. This monopoly not only frustrates car owners, it also pads the pockets of manufacturers, who then have no incentive to improve quality or lower prices. And let's not overlook the impact on innovation. When companies become too comfortable in their monopolized domains, why bother innovating when they can keep feeding off the status quo? So if you think about it, the software in your car isn't just cool tech, it's a tool for monopolization. It keeps you firmly glued to one manufacturer, limits your repair options, and stifles competition.